36 bouts. Zero losses.
Mayweather.
I'm so good I can fight some.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the best boxer alive. Just ask him.
I'm the best. Can't nobody stop me. Floyd's extremely self-confident. He is absolutely certain he knows how to fight better than anybody else.
Floyd Mayweather is an artist at what he does.
Brilliant, clean, hard shots for Pretty Boy Floyd.
Floyd's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and there's no such thing as a number 2.
As Mayweather pounds away.
He's obliterated every opponent in his career. But now, a steel-jawed journeyman has risen from obscurity to become the welterweight champion. For the man they call Pretty Boy, things could get ugly.
Baldomir does one thing, and he wins.
Can't back Baldomir off.
He hasn't lost in 8 years.
Baldomir just keeps scraping him with the right hand.
This guy is no pushover. Anybody that thinks that is crazy.
And tell him I'm shaking in my boots. I'm still scared. I'm still nervous. Whoa.
On November 4th, the pound-for-pound king resumes his quest for boxing immortality.
There's 2 ways he can go. He can go in his face or he can go in his ass. Because that's where he's trying to send me.
And the man many are calling his most daunting challenge yet fights to make history of his own.
There's no way in the world that Floyd is going to put this man on his back. This is a fight to the finish for Floyd Mayweather.
Baldomir closed the show.
36 fighters have tried in a decade, and all of them have failed.
Brilliant performance.
November 4th, he will try, and he will fail.
This is the story of a battle-scarred champion seeking the ultimate upset, and the world's most prolific boxer facing his toughest test. This is the countdown to Baldomir Mayweather.
Pretty Boy Floyd.
Floyd is involved in one of the great love stories in boxing with himself. It's a romance that is thrilling and moving to watch.
I'm the best fighter in the world. The best fighter ever put on a pair of gloves. Do not grab me. You know what happened to my last 36 opponents that grabbed me? I couldn't even tell you who's rated number 2 behind me pound for pound. Because when you at the top, you ain't trying to look back.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. is unquestionably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world today.
He's got radar-like senses. He's got fast hands and power. In effect, he's a total package. This is one of the best fighters of his generation.
I don't think there's ever been a boxer that, from the day that he entered this world, that was being groomed to be a boxer like Floyd Mayweather Jr.
His dad was good enough to fight Sugar Ray Leonard, which says something. His uncle was an excellent fighter. Roger Mayweather, the Black Mamba, as they called him, he won 2 legitimate titles where he was the champion.
My uncle used to train. My dad used to train. I used to always be around boxing. When I was a kid, I punched everything. I used to punch the doorknob for so long they get loose.
Floyd was a baby with gloves on. He's like Tiger Woods in this regard. This is his life.
I had the pleasure of seeing Floyd Mayweather Jr. at about the age of 8 or 9, and you could see talent.
Mayweather was an outstanding amateur, winning 3 National Golden Gloves championships.
Floyd Mayweather, boy, he does have a lot of confidence. A flamboyant, entertaining fighter and one who could do well in the Olympic Games.
He made the 1996 U.S. Olympic team as a featherweight, but a controversial decision left him with a bronze medal. 3 months later, at just 19 years old, he fought his first professional bout.
Floyd Mayweather is the most entitled fighter I know. Probably somewhere along about 10 or 12, he started thinking he'd be the best fighter in the sport. He totally expected this. Baldomir is completely the opposite.
Carlos Baldomir was born in Santa Fe, Argentina, raised on the same streets as legendary middleweight champion Carlos Monzon.
Éramos muy humildes, muy pobres. Mi papá vendía plumero en las calles y vivíamos de lo que él ganaba a diario. Ya quería pelear porque en ese momento Monzón era campeón y miraba las peleas de él. Y fui haciéndome profesional, pero no me fue muy bien al principio.
Baldomir fought in tiny venues for little money and only to support his family, supplementing the meager income he earned as he followed in his father's humble footsteps.
His dad was a street vendor. He, too, a street vendor selling feather dusters. He didn't have a manager, he didn't have a promoter. He was a very, very poor guy from the streets who was fighting to try to make a little bit of money in Argentina.
A mí me pasó todo eso. Me cortaban la luz. A mi hijo no comían carne siempre, una vez cada por semana. Yo nunca me dedicaba de lleno al entrenamiento, no podía estrenarme, tenía que trabajar, tenía que ir a estrenar y ganaba más trabajando que lo que ganaba boxeando.
He fought a lot of fights early on where he didn't train a single day for them, just basically showed up in the ring and fought the fight.
Carlos Baldomir.
Selling feather dust was actually his training for fights because he would walk 2 to 3 hours a day with these items, and that would be his cardio. Baldomir, even the nights of the fight, would sell feather dusters to people in the arena. Boxing wasn't a lucrative profession for Carlos Baldomir. It wasn't a profession where he could support his family.
Baldomir's family, his wife Graciela and their 4 children, lived in a modest home in Santa Fe, while Carlos earned 2 incomes to keep them afloat.
Los sueños que soñaba eran cuando caminaba. Qué sé yo, veía una casa linda, un auto, pensaba cuando llegue a algo o gane plata, me gustaría tener ese auto o esa casa.
I like to rock diamonds. I like a lot of cars. I live in a big house. I got like 10 bathrooms in my house, 9 to 10 bathrooms, I'm not sure. So it's the Floyd Mayweather Charles, customized pretty boy Floyd Mayweather Charles. This is my little niece right here, badass Samaya.
Not bad.
She said she not bad. Well, that means she not bad. Keep the fireplace running, because that's a good look. Let's go into my bedroom, my big bed. My son have a particular one. It's a habit for my house to be real, real neat. Let's go into my closet. Look around. I got shoes for days. Shoes all up here. Shoes all in here. Shoes all over here. Shoes all in here. All shoes. Come see the belts. I got this WBC belt when I beat Gennaro Hernandez. Chiquinito, the famous Chiquinito, gave me my first chance.
Gennaro Chiquinito Hernandez was the super featherweight champion in 1998. Mayweather had steamrolled through his first 17 opponents and squared off with Hernandez in his first title bout.
It's one thing for a young fighter like Mayweather to take apart a good, aggressive fighter in a boxer-puncher style who has a moderate level of skill. That's impressive. But Gennaro Hernandez was graduate school.
He gets in the ring with Gennaro Hernandez, who is a very good fighter, and completely dominated him.
Oh, what a vicious uppercut by Floyd Mayweather.
This is a kid in his early 20s who easily dominated the best fighter in his division and made clear that he was going to be the best fighter in that division for just about as long as he wanted to be.
Floyd comes back with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-punch combination.
The undefeated WBC Super Featherweight Champion of the world, pretty boy Floyd Mayweather.
Now the youngest title holder in pro boxing, Mayweather continued his domination, successfully defending his title 8 times, including an impressive victory over Diego Corrales in 2001. Mayweather had established himself as one of boxing's most talented fighters and most consummate showmen.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the most egotistical boxers of modern time.
Floyd Mayweather is willing to fight any fighter from 154 down. You bring him and I'll take him.
I I've had several conversations with Floyd while calling his fights.
Floyd switches to a southpaw stance for the second time in the fight. Third time, he says. Thank you, Floyd. So, Roy, do you like the Steelers or the Patriots?
Well, the Patriots.
Eagles or Falcons, Floyd?
I like Michael Vick.
That's a mark of his extraordinary ring comfort.
Floyd has the rare opportunity to go down as one of the very greatest fighters in history. Willie Pep, Pernell Whitaker, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Roberto Duran. He could be on those kind of lists.
Whether, he is, as he says, the greatest of all time, still remains to be determined. In many ways, Carlos Baldomir might be one of those links in proving or disproving it.
And if Baldomir wants to disprove it, he might not need to look any further than what some consider Mayweather's most punishing bout.
The only guy that's been able to come close to being semi-successful against Floyd was Jose Luis Castillo.
If you're looking for a blueprint on how to defeat Floyd Mayweather, there's only one fight to watch, and that is the first Jose Luis Castillo fight.
Castillo continues to turn this into a ballroom brawl.
Prior to his first fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr., people didn't think of Jose Luis Castillo as a star. They thought of him as just another stepping stone for Floyd because of Floyd's brilliance.
But Castillo was no stepping stone. For 12 rounds, he applied the kind of pressure Mayweather had never faced.
And new!
After a controversial unanimous decision, Mayweather captured the lightweight crown and successfully defended his title with a decisive victory in the rematch. Still, the lessons from the first bout remained.
It became abundantly clear that night that if Floyd Mayweather has a Waterloo, it's going to be against somebody who's naturally bigger and stronger, who focuses on body punching, and who can create at least the threat, the mentality that he can out-physical Floyd in the ring.
This fight is dangerous for Floyd because Carlos Baldomir is a big, strong, rugged guy with a hard head, and he hangs in there, and he can handle himself.
Carlos Baldomir is one of those great surprises we always have in boxing. Someone who is below the radar. For all we know, they're in the witness protection program and just surfaced.
Baldomir's unexpected emergence followed years of low-profile bouts fought solely to support his family. But by 2005, he had gone 7 years without a defeat and amassed a respectable record of 41 wins, 9 losses, and 6 draws.
He was slowly moving his way up the rankings. But at 35 years old, he doesn't have a lot of time, and he wanted to go right for the very best.
So he wins his fights, he wins his fights. He goes several years without losing, and Zab Judah elects to fight him for the welterweight title in New York because he thinks, who the hell is Carlos Baldomir? I've got nothing to worry about here.
For the New York-based welterweight champ Zab Judah, the Baldomir bout was merely a tune-up for Judah's next opponent, Floyd Mayweather. Judah was unimpressed by his little-known Argentinian challenger, and he wasn't alone.
I saw him a year ago when I was in Los Angeles training with a couple of fighters of mine, and we noticed a guy over there quietly training by himself. Every day he was at the gym, and they told me he was going to be fighting Zab Judah. So yeah, okay, must have been a joke. I mean, there's nothing that impressive about him.
Most fighters try to get away from their families when they train for boxing. They go to Big Bear Lake, they go to Las Vegas to train. Baldomir brings his family to Los Angeles and into the training sessions with him.
Tenía mucha confianza porque sabía que Judah estaba cometiendo un error, que pensaba en Mayweather y no pensaba en mí.
I think the only person who thought that Baldomir could win the Judah fight was Baldomir. Remember, this is Zab Judah fighting in his backyard, and he's fighting Carlos who?
On January 7th of this year, with his wife and family watching back in Argentina, Baldomir stepped onto Judah's home turf in front of a packed house. At first, the local favorite didn't disappoint.
Judah just out boxing it. Yo, motherfucker slow as hell.
Despite Judah's impressive early performance, Baldomir refused to give in. As the fight wore on, it was the underdog on the attack.
Zab has this huge edge in speed, and the guy's beating him to the punch. Baldomir's beating one of the fastest hand guys in the business, and he's beating him to the punch.
I had asked him one time after the Zab Judah fight, did he ever hurt you? And he told me he hit me with a great shot that really hurt. He said, but all I had to do was think of my wife and my kids. He said, I fought right through it. I could see their faces, and literally the pain went away.
Baldomir on the assault. Zab is in trouble. He caught him. He caught Zab, and he's got Zab on his feet again. There's no tomorrow. He's going to let it go, let it fly.
After 12 grueling rounds, the welterweight championship of the world was in the hands of the ringside judges.
The winner and new champion, Carlos Baldomir. How about that? What an upset.
It was a title fight in New York City at the Garden, and he came in and beat a good fighter to win the championship. That makes it a huge win, not just a big win.
It's almost like a Rocky story. You know, Rocky Balboa, the club fighter who couldn't punch his way out of some poor dive in Philadelphia, and all of a sudden he's beating Apollo Creed.
Baldomir was greeted in Argentina as a national hero. The former feather duster salesman was now the pride of his country. His first title defense came in Atlantic City versus yet another local favorite, the so-called blood and guts warrior, Arturo Gatti. Again, Baldomir was the underdog.
Gatti was the betting favorite in the fight. Now go back and look at the fight and tell me how Arturo Gatti could ever have been the betting favorite against this guy. It makes no sense in retrospect, but that's how disrespected Carlos still was at the moment of that fight.
Arturo Gatti cannot get out of the way of Carlos Baldomir's power shots.
I never expected to see Baldomir beat Gatti the way he beat him. But Baldomir, as we say, beat him down.
Another big shot, and this time Arturo Gatti is ruined.
Gatti's storied tenacity was no match for Baldomir's sheer strength. The fight was stopped in the 9th round.
This was too big a man for Arturo Gatti. Is this question too big a man, as he proved against both Gatti and Zab Judah for Floyd Mayweather?
It don't matter what it is. I always want to win. I pick winning over money. I could be playing against an NBA player in one-on-one basketball, and I'm still gonna think he can't beat me.
I'm a big fan, man. You know what I mean? Like, he the best in the business. He just didn't wake up and be that great. You know what I mean? He put the work in. You know, it's motivation. There's a lot of us guys that come up here and watch him.
Well, thank you, Chauncey.
And it's just a beautiful thing. It's poetry in motion.
He hates to lose in anything. I play a little golf myself, and Floyd has never picked up a golf club in his life. He thought that he could beat me playing putt-putt golf. And I'm like, yeah, right. You know, so he said, okay, well, I'm gonna put up $5,000, and if you beat me, then you get the $5 grand. If not, then you gotta get a tattoo. Needless to say, I lost the bet.
Mayweather, like Baldomir, also had a point to prove against Gatti in June of 2005. In his first pay-per-view appearance, Floyd staked his claim as boxing's pound-for-pound best.
It was the first night that Max Kellerman was working on our pay-per-view broadcast. And Max's opening line on HBO was,
I think this is probably the biggest big fight pay-per-view mismatch since Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson.
Huge left hook.
Floyd made his coming out party on HBO the night he fought Arturo Gatti.
Right hand is solid. Combinations by Mayweather. Too much speed. Maybe too much power, too.
I don't know that he laid a glove on Floyd. Maybe he did. I blinked.
I'm stopping it, Arturo.
Gatti did not have the overwhelming kind of size advantage needed to compensate for the, disparity in talent. Carlos Baldomir does.
But Mayweather will face the biggest, strongest opponent of his career without the presence of his longtime trainer, his Uncle Roger. Last April's long-awaited Mayweather-Zab Judah bout began without incident, but when the night was over, Roger would be a key combatant in one of the uglier episodes in boxing memory.
Floyd seemed to understand that, at least at the beginning of the fight, Zab could match his hand speed.
This is not the Zab Judah who fought Carlos Baldomir in New York.
Then as the fight went on, Floyd gradually opened up and eventually had Judah at the end of a tether, basically doing what he wanted to with him.
I told Floyd what was going to happen once you started getting up in that ass.
Zab Judah has a history of trying to impose street justice in a situation that he's lost control of.
There's a low blow by Judah.
At that point, there was an intrusion into the ring.
And now Roger Mayweather wants to come after Zab. And now Leonard Ellerbe wants Yoel Judah. And a riot is going to break out in the ring. Law enforcement authorities in the ring to try to break it up. Bunch of hotheads in there.
Floyd Mayweather showed his maturity. He stood in the corner. He watched. Floyd Mayweather had become a mature fighter.
Honestly, I ain't finna get involved with this shit and fuck my money up.
I think Floyd Mayweather Jr. handled it correctly and coolly by staying out of it, but his uncle suffered the consequences.
I didn't do nothing. And on top of that, I never hit Zab Judah. Zab Judah jumped on my neck.
Floyd prevailed in a unanimous decision, while his uncle was fined $200,000 and handed a year-long suspension. But for Roger, things would get far worse. In September, he was sentenced to 6 months in prison after allegedly striking a woman during a July altercation. The Baldomir bout will mark the first time Mayweather hasn't been trained by his uncle in 6 years. Floyd's longtime cornermen, Leonard Ellerbe and Rafael Garcia, have assumed interim control of Mayweather's camp.
This fight could get tough. This fight could get very tense in the late rounds.
You hit me, get jab and keep checking with the hook.
There might come a moment in this fight when Floyd would feel more secure if he could have Roger's voice in his ear. It is going to hurt Floyd not to have Roger.
By Roger not being in the corner, obviously we're disappointed about it, but it's going to be business as usual. And like we said all along, we're going to line them up one by one. And he's going to whip their ass one by one.
On November 4th, the world's greatest boxer faces the sport's most improbable hero. As the countdown concludes, a battle beckons.
Whoever you put him in with, who's going to win? Floyd Mayweather.
What a display of skill by Mayweather.
I mean, so far in his career, if you would have just said Floyd Mayweather every time, and you were a betting man, you'd have made a lot of money.
Floyd's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and there's no such thing as a number 2.
Brilliant stuff from Pretty Boy Floyd.
36 fighters have tried in a decade, and all of them have failed. November 4th, he will try, and he will fail.
Floyd has yet to be in with a big, strong, rugged, natural welterweight. Let's be very clear about this. There is one welterweight champion of the world. His name is Carlos Baldomir.
Yes, Baldomir can beat Mayweather. I think he's knockout proof. His chin is granite.
And a left hook upstairs by Gaddy. Baldomir walks right through it.
I don't know that many people give him a chance, and that's unfair. Because guess what? He's got a hell of a chance.
A steel beam could hit him and it wouldn't knock him out.
You could hit him in the head with a sledgehammer, and you're not going to hurt him.
If Floyd goes in there and tries to fight him straight up and just throw punches at him all day, Floyd is going to get knocked out.
Floyd's facing a real deal welterweight in this fight. I mean, this guy is no pushover. Anybody that thinks that is crazy.
This is a guy who walks around at about 185 pounds. He has to sweat down 40 pounds to get to welterweight. It makes him angry, it makes him surly, it makes him really pissed off, it enhances him as a fighter.
I think this is one of the most intriguing fights in years. It could conceivably rank right up there with some of the greatest upsets in the history of boxing.
If Baldomir beats Mayweather, even if he never does another thing in his life, he has lived an extraordinary life.
There's no way in the world that Floyd is going to put this man on his back. This is a fight to the finish for Floyd Mayweather.